Alright, so hey guys, welcome to another Warframe video, and today I want to talk a little bit about my Baruuk setup because it just got a hell of a lot stronger across the board thanks to the addition of the two new augments. Now the setup didn't change an awful lot, it still focuses mostly on Serene Storm and just doing insane amounts of AoE damage with it, and it's still pretty much unkillable in the vast majority of situations. And here is what it looks like. So we started it all off with the aura, which is going to be corrosive projection. You can use energy siphon if you're having trouble with energy, but corrosive projection is just too good. Okay, 30% less armor on the enemies is just too good. Then for the exiles, I personally like to run handspring because it reduces the time it takes you to recover from a knockdown quite significantly. But if you don't mind knockdowns, you can go with one of the Moon Drift mods instead. Then we're gonna run Fleeting Expertise that's maxed out for a ton of efficiency, and the negative duration doesn't matter because we don't actually utilize duration on this build at all. Next in the menu we have Adaptation, which is a mod that works really well on Baruuk, and you can get it from arbitrations. Now the reason why it works so well is because of Baruuk's third ability, Desolate Hands, which will put a bunch of daggers around you that give you damage reduction but shoot off to disarm enemies one at a time. So the idea here is that as you're losing the daggers, you're adapting to the damage you're taking, basically switching one damage reduction for another. After that, I personally run Umbro Vitality because I put on Umbro Forma for health and Umbro Intensify for a ton of power strength, and you don't really need Umbro Fiber because you already have enough layers of damage reduction so that you don't need armor. And then comes the augment, Reactive Storm. Now this is an augment for Serene Storm, which makes it adapt its damage to the type of enemy you're fighting, and it also gives it a bunch of extra status chance which is affected by power strength. This basically makes Serene Storm super effective against everything. After that, we're gonna run Transient Fortitude for a ton more strength, and once again the duration doesn't matter here. Then we're gonna run Stretch, and this is mainly for lull so that we can drain our restraint really fast. And we top it all off with one more mod, which is Hunter Adrenaline, so that as you take damage you generate energy. Moving on to Desert Wind, where we're gonna run Prime Pressure Point for damage and then Prime Fury and Berserker for attack speed, because you already have more than enough damage, so attack speed is really good, and Desert Wind is just really slow. After that, we're running Sacrificial Steel for a ton of extra crit chance, and I am not running Sacrificial Pressure because you would need one more Umbra Forma on this setup, and I don't think it's worth the 25% crit you get from that. Then we're gonna put on Organ Chatter to get our crit multiplier, Healing Return, so that every time you hit an enemy that has a status effect on them, it will heal you. This basically, in combination with everything else, makes you immortal. And then we're gonna top it off with Prime Fever Strike and one dual stab mod, which is most likely gonna be Voltaic Strike. And this, with the amount of power strength that I'm using on my Baruuk setup, brings us all the way up to 100% status chance. Now the idea of this setup is to keep up Desolate Hands as much as possible to give you mad damage reduction and also drain some restraint as the daggers shoot off, then use a lull and try to hit as many enemies with it as possible to drain even more restraint before finally jumping into Serene Storm and obliterating absolutely everything. And obliterating is the perfect word for it because my god, the damage is just stupid. And it's because you have a ton of base damage that adapts to the type of enemy you're fighting, and you have 160% crit and 100% status chance. It's kind of insane. To a point where the build can sometimes be a little bit too strong, and you will have to generate energy through the Zenuric Focus School instead. Because even if you're not one-shotting things, you're taking barely any damage through all the damage reduction, so you sometimes don't generate enough through Hunter Adrenaline to keep everything going. And you do need to keep generating energy, because otherwise you won't be able to use a lull to drain your restraint, and you won't be able to use Serene Storm. But it does depend on how well you play with it. If you pop lull against 1 or 2 enemies, you're gonna lose barely any restraint, but if you pop it against like 5 or even 10 enemies, you're gonna lose a third, maybe even more. But even that requires a little bit of planning, because you can very easily just swing once with Serene Storm and the wave will obliterate the entire room. So yeah, the two biggest downsides of this build are that it can sometimes do just too much damage and sometimes it's just too damn tanky. Boo-hoo. And that is pretty much all I wanted to say, so I thank you very much for watching. As always guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video and you will try the build out because it's just insanely fun. And I will see you next time. Bye bye.